So what's happened in the jobs market over the last 18 months is perhaps one of the greatest curiosities of this crisis. Normally at times of recession, we see unemployment spiking, we see vacancies falling right down. Although unemployment has been kept relatively in check, vacancies have actually behaved in entirely the opposite way to what we might have expected. Just this morning, we heard vacancies in September up record highs again, over 1.1 million. And although that might seem like good news on the surface for workers, the reality might be a bit more nuanced, and there's big challenges for business about how to realign to the new reality post-pandemic. So first of all, have a look at this. What we're plotting here is some of the key sectors that are driving that big growth in vacancies. Up there at the top, transport and logistics. We've heard so much about it, haven't we? Up 300% job adverts there on what they were pre-pandemic. But problems in other sectors too, manufacturing, construction, even travel and tourism, surprising perhaps given the problems that that sector has faced. However, that's not the case in all sectors across the economy. Have a look at this. What we've plotted here is some sectors where job vacancies are actually down on what they were before the pandemic. Some of this might not be that surprising. For example, sales, we know retail has had some problems, but some sectors here are a little bit surprising. Jobs down in energy, jobs down in legal, graduate jobs down as well. And what this is essentially showing us is that there's a realignment going to be happening in the economy. We know, for example, don't we, that there are going to be fewer jobs in places, for example, like city centre sandwich shops, more jobs in places like warehouses. It may be a bit too soon to see some of these things really playing out in the data, but some of the early signs are certainly interesting. Now, the question for many of us is not just where are the jobs, but actually where are the workers to fill all of these vacancies? And it's quite interesting. They might not necessarily always be in the right places. So what we've done here is charting the number of unemployed and furloughed people as of July against the number of regions of the country. So essentially, the higher up they are on this graph, the more unemployed and furloughed people there were as of July, the further along they are, the greater growth in vacancies that those sectors have seen. What this essentially shows is there's different problems in different regions. London, for example, right up there at the top, absolutely the worst place to be in the country right now if you're a worker. By far the highest number of people potentially looking for work, the fewest vacancies. Over at the other side, different problems. The northeast, the largest number of vacancies there. Yorkshire and the Humber, where we are today, higher vacancies and comparatively fewer people looking for those jobs. So not only might the workers not be in the right places, but they might not also be at the right skill level. Have a look at this. There is a slight correlation between the number of vacancies in certain sectors and the average earnings in those sectors. So over at this side, hospitality, many more vacancies, lower pay on average. Over there on the other end, finance. Worth saying anecdotally, transport up there, the big vacancies driver. Anecdotally, we do know that some of the jobs that do exist are in those lower paying driving jobs as opposed to the managerial jobs as well. And look, as we go forward over the coming years and the coming decades, there will be other new challenges for businesses as well. I want to leave you with this. One of the challenges we may all face is automation. What this essentially shows is that there is a direct correlation, anecdotally, between how likely a sector was to furlough its workers in the recent crisis and how at risk that sector might be from automation. So look, up here at the top, food and tourism, retail, construction to a degree as well, highly likely to have furloughed their workers during this crisis, much more at risk of automation. Over here on the opposite end, media, scientific, IT. Of course, it won't go unnoticed that these tend to be the higher paying careers as well, potentially slightly lower paying over there. So big questions for businesses, not just about how these factors all collide, are we creating a more vulnerable group of workers going forward, but crucially also how business is going to rise to this challenge and will we be able to find the workers that are needed.